And go.
Thank you all for joining us. So a huge thank you to the teams at Berkeley and Putnam for organizing this, and as well as Barbara's bookstore for hosting this event. The staff at Barbara's will be dropping links to purchase books from tonight's authors, so look for those in the chat. So tonight we're celebrating the release of the sophomore books by Rosie Danan and Sarah Hogle. So Rosie writes steamy, big-hearted books, articles, and tweets about the trials and triumphs of modern love. Her most recent novel is The Intimacy Experiment. And Sarah Hogle is a mom of 3 who enjoys trashy TV and provoking her husband for attention. Her dream is to live in a falling apart castle in a forest that is probably cursed. Her most recent novel, Twice Shy, released today. So both books released today. So thank you so much for letting me join this with you two. I am so excited. I loved both of your debut books. I loved both of your sophomore books. So I was just super excited about this. So I was wondering if I could get you guys to, like, Sarah, you tell us about The Intimacy Experiment, and Rosie, you tell us about Twice Shy.
Okay.
Okay. The Intimacy Experiment follows Naomi Grant, who is from The Roommates. And she's really awesome and badass. And she meets a rabbi named Ethan, and he's really hot. And they do a seminar together to pull attention back to his synagogue, which is kind of failing. And she's having difficulty. She wants to lecture, but nobody will listen to her because she has a history as a porn star. And I really wish I had the book right here next to me so I could cheat and read the back.
No, I feel like you did a great job describing it.
You nailed it.
And it's really cute, though.
And
like the inside, it's really soft. So, yeah.
So, Rosie, can you describe Twice Shy for us?
Yes, but I will say I had a panic when you said this and was like, I'm gonna forget everything. But I think I've got it.
Okay.
So Twice Shy follows our heroine Maybell. Is it Maybell or Maybell? How should I pronounce it?
I say it Maybell, but I mean, you do you. It's
Maybell. Okay, Maybell. The spelling would suggest Maybell, I would say. And she is working in hospitality, and she is not loving it. And she has a friend, and air quotes are important here, who works with her and has basically catfished her into, this happened previous to the events of the book, into believing that there's this perfect man who's incredibly handsome that she was falling in love with via message exchange from a dating app. And it's come to light that this was not true, that her friend, who's really horrible, was doing this out of jealousy. And so luckily, our heroine has the opportunity to escape this hospitality and this toxic friend because her aunt passes away, her great aunt, and leaves her the opportunity to stay at her estate in Tennessee, which is lovely. And she's like, yeah, I'm getting out of here. And then she shows up and she finds out that she's not the only one that inherited. There's actually a co-inheritor. And when she sees him, she has a panic, as we all would, because it happens to be the real life man whose images were used to catfish her. So very jarring. But Wesley is incredibly sweet. He's the groundskeeper. And it's about them kind of getting the estate ready so they're cleaning it out and things. And through that exercise, they're also learning about each other and falling in love. And they are both soft people who are working through different issues. And it's just very beautiful.
All right.
You did so much better than me. I want to redo.
No, you both did fantastic. So you both said soft. You both mentioned soft to describe the other's books. And I wrote that on my list of things to talk about, that these are both, Ethan and Wes are both soft boys, men, but it just sounds funnier to say, or better to sound soft voice. So what appeals to you as a reader or a writer for that type of character?
I'm happy to start. I don't even know if I set out to write soft characters. I feel like it just naturally happens. And I think it's just part of me being like sort of like a tender-hearted person, which I don't think necessarily comes across like in my exterior. I think I am like shy to the point of maybe coming across as like standoffish. So I think I always want to write characters that like prove that the softness maybe like in me and then as an extension in them. And I think you can see that a little bit in Naomi. I know your question was about our soft male characters, but I think all four of our leads are soft in different ways. But I think, it's also, if I had to diagnose the sort of rise in soft male characters, I think there was so much toxic masculinity that was brought on, coming out of the 2016 election. It was just like hitting us in the face repeatedly, unfortunately. And so just from my personal experience, I wanted heroes that went against all of the negative emotions and sort of like practical downfall of that type of toxic masculinity. And so I think that's why we're seeing more like cinnamon rolls here in contemporary romance. And I would say romance across the board.
Agreed. And I would agree that Naomi doesn't think she's a soft girl, though. She is.
I think it's also that she like maybe knows that she's like very soft inside and she's like trying desperately to prove that she isn't, or like to hide that soft underbelly. And so it was really nice in this book to just help her navigate and accept that part of herself, because I think she's like kill it with fire to her vulnerability. She's like, maybe that's not the only way to behave.
Right. All right, Sarah, so what about Wes being a soft boy and Maybell being soft as well?
I think mostly I just want to give heroines like the best kind of man they could deserve. I don't want to give them someone who is going to be mean. I just want like a cocoon of warmth and happiness. And I agree with Rosie with like political gets in there a little bit. I mean, you see men who are, misogynist, and you just want to go the opposite of that and show readers like the fantasy guy, I guess. Maybe they can't find that in real life because, everyone's awful. But in fiction, we can write people who are however we want. So,
yeah. But then it, like, for me as a reader, a single reader, I know that fiction and real life, they're very different. But also, like, it helps us kind of see sometimes some of these things that, like, if I'm looking for my ideal mate, quote unquote, like, okay, so maybe I do want someone who's a little bit more on the softer side that can express emotions, stuff like that. So I know that when people talk about romance, they're like, oh, people don't know. But we do. We obviously know the difference. But it is nice to see, like, other types of qualities in men, if that's the type of partner that you're looking for, and think to yourself, like, oh, I would like somebody who maybe kind of does those kinds of things. So, but anyway, so Sarah, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was, in both of your books, you have characters that work, I wrote it down as like, quote, average jobs, but like, I don't really mean it like that, but more, a lot of times we see characters who are like ad executives or, these like high powered women, which is great. That's great to see. But then, Rosie mentioned that Maybell in this book, she was in hospitality, and she was in basically, I'd like to think, a dead end job. She hated it. She was very unhappy. The characters in your previous book also kind of, other than Nicholas being a dentist, Naomi was just you know, she just worked at a store, and that's great, but like, why do you choose to go with that more kind of like blue collar type of job?
I know nothing about like the ad executive life. I could not write that convincingly. You know, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so it's a lot of guesswork. Or I could just write about authors, but people probably get tired of that if I wrote about that consistently. So it's about what is easiest for me to research and guess at.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So, Rosie, you wrote in both of your books about characters who are sex workers, and it delves into it on the page. So it's not just like something that happened in the past. So that is not something we see a lot in romance. So why'd you opt to go with that as the career path for your characters?
Yeah, I didn't actually set out saying, you know, I want to write about sex workers. With The Roommate, which was the first book which introduced kind of the world of Shameless, if you will, that it continues into the intimacy experiment. The idea for that story came from me wanting to play with the historical trope of the rake and the blue stocking and wanting to update that for a contemporary landscape. And I've talked about how I just felt that a porn star was like an interesting evolution of the historical rape we know to be experienced and sexually confident. So it was like more that the role evolved to suit the goal of translating those tropes. And then once I had Josh, I didn't want him to just be the only sex worker on the page in The Roommate. I wanted to show a variety of experiences. I definitely wanted to have a female perspective on adult entertainment because, you know, there's a big difference of being a man in the industry versus a woman. And also, like, I didn't get into this, but their women of color have different experiences and all of that. So Naomi came from a narrative function similar to Josh in that I wanted to have a female character who was also challenging the system and be able to add to build the world, and then pretty much just fell in love with her and wanted her to have her own book along with my publishing team. And so yeah, I think it's more like character first rather than coming at it from you know, wanting to profession, but it was really challenging to write about profession.
So Rosie, at least for me, I'm losing your sound a little bit, so come a little closer to your mic when you, yeah.
I'm just going to drag my computer very slowly towards my face. Is this getting better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. At first I thought it was just me, but then, okay, thank you. So you were saying, I'm sorry, you were saying with you and your publishing team, you wanted to explore Naomi more.
Yeah, we just all were excited about the possibilities of her love story, and it was intimidating, you know, to write about sex work not having the lived experience. So it was really important to me to work with people who had the lived experience and to do research into their perspectives to be able to hopefully do that in a way that honors their experiences.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed both books, so it seemed as authentic as I thought it might be, you know, from an outsider looking in without it being like sensationalized or, you know, made like icky, for lack of a better word. So I think that you guys had mentioned that both of you wrote these books during the pandemic, you know, last year pandemic. So I was just wondering how that was different, how any of that kind of played into the books that you wrote, or.
Well, I actually didn't. I actually turned in the intimacy experiment on February 28th, 2020.
Oh, okay.
So
Nice.
literally right before. Yeah. But I actually, you know, I thought a lot about it because, you know, while I didn't have to write during the pandemic, which I imagine was incredibly challenging, it's like the world is very different, and the world that the book is being received in is very different from the one that I wrote it in. So, you know, obviously I have no control over that, but I thought about that a lot, that like what people need during the pandemic and in the aftermath of it is different than what maybe they needed before. So it'll be interesting to see how the narrative is received through this like experience. It changed the way all of us, or at least I can speak to my personal experience, like interact with like entertainment media.
And then what about you, Sarah?
Yeah, it definitely affected it. I wrote a first version before the pandemic, and then I rewrote it during the pandemic. I was watching a lot of Great British Bake Off, and I wanted to bring that level of like a little bubble of comfort into it. So it's basically just really self-indulgent. What makes Sarah feel warm and cozy? I want to go to this magical little house in Tennessee and just, be with this in this environment where everyone is sweet and accepting, and they just, show each other unconditional love. And it was a really nice escape during the pandemic to just turn off the news and go to Falling Stars.
When I read it, and I think I emailed, so my new thing is like when I read books, I email like all the people involved with them to tell them how much I love them. So like I think for your book, Sarah, I emailed Marco and was like at Putnam. It's not at Putnam anymore, and I was like, it was like so soft and tender, and it was like everything that I needed it to be, like at the moment that I read it, where it just felt good to, the angst was there, but it wasn't super high, and it felt really nice. And Rosie, to be fair, I emailed Christine about your book as well, so that's what I do now. I say, I don't want to make it weird, but I want to tell somebody how much I love this book. So, but yeah, and I think as a reader, everybody's different, but it's hard for me to, first of all, it's really hard for me to read right now. It has been for a long time, but I can't read books that are like super stressful. I'm already way too stressed out to be stressing out about fictional people,
Yeah.
way. But okay, so Sarah, also in Twice Shy, you created a character that suffers from anxiety and anxiousness. So did that just like come naturally as far as Wes's character, or how did that happen?
Well, that came from me because I'm a really anxious person, but especially social anxiety. Like even now, this is, we got a computer here, but I'm just like, and the way that he has difficulty expressing himself verbally, like all the words are in there, but when it's time to pull them out, they go all jumbled up. So, like, talking about the book about a guy who has difficulty talking feels a little ironic to me. But yeah, I just wanted to write about someone with social anxiety like I do and who is still loved anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good thing for both books, right? Like, both of you have characters that maybe other people may not see, or maybe they struggle with seeing themselves as lovable, and therefore like carry that out to other people. Like Naomi felt like she was unlovable because of lots of different things, or that maybe Ethan wouldn't love her because of his job, his faith, all that kind of stuff. And then with Maybell and Wes, they kind of were like, they didn't really know. They were, because of Wes not talking a lot, but then he started to show her, like, I was telling one of my friends, when they start painting the mural, it's like, that's when you know. That's the best part. So a couple people here just in the chat have said that, Sarah, they thought that was amazing anxiety rep. Maisie and Samantha, I really thought it was really good as well. So, okay, so Rosie, with your book, Ethan is a Jewish rabbi. So that was like something I don't think we see a lot. So you had a lot of things in here that we don't see a ton of. And again, did that just, was that a natural thing of how Ethan, like how your process works, just what he was, or had you intended for that?
I mean, Ethan came out of me wanting to find a character that I thought would love Naomi in the way that I wanted her to be loved. And I thought that that would need to be somebody that was comfortable with being challenged, first of all. Somebody that, you know, was open to many different perspectives on an issue, somebody that was used to kind of like working and had like similar values to her. Like, even though they seem very different on paper, they have a lot of parallels. Like community building is really key to both of them. I think it's actually in the book, like, they both were trying to build the communities that they needed. Like Naomi was homeless, Ethan was a synagogue. So, you know, it might seem really non-traditional, but to me, it made perfect sense. So once I had the idea to make him a hot rabbi, and I also like the hot thing, like people ask me, do you know a lot about rabbis?
Come into your mic a little bit more.
Okay. I'm gonna be like very close to the screen. You know, there aren't necessarily like the tactile is so subjective, and I think for me, people who are talented and really intelligent and care about something a lot, like that can come across as being a little tactile. So yeah, he just seemed like the right choice for me to pair with her. And then I had to kind of say like, okay, well, is this allowed? Like, is my Jewish family going to freak out? Is my actually going to freak out? But they actually were surprisingly on board. And so then it was kind of up to me to figure out how to come from the POV of a rabbi. Again, similar to a sex worker, like I don't have that lived experience. I had to rely on research and try to dig into that mindset. But again, I think the understanding the beliefs and why someone would be a rabbi was useful.
So kind of like a parallel theme or a side plot, if you will, in the book, your book, Rosie, is also Naomi's exploration of her own faith and what that means to her. And I just thought that that was so well done. I think that in romance, not in like inspirational romance, that's not like my thing. But I think that in contemporary romance, we don't see a whole lot of people practicing religion or thinking about their religion, even though it is something that real people go through. So why, like, was your team, sorry, I was reading the notes about us going on mute when Rose was talking, sorry. So is that something that you actively wanted to include, or that's just, it just developed with the story?
Yeah, again, I think it's sort of a natural extension. Like I knew I wanted Ethan to be a rabbi, which I knew meant that I was going to have to really dig into my relationship with Judaism, which I hadn't necessarily been at that point in my life. Like it's part of my heritage, it's part of my family traditions, but I had to examine like what is my relationship with practice? Like what is my relationship with identity and how does it intersect? And I think a lot of that flowed into the way that Naomi approached it as well. And I did want to show that because I think, again, like only want to speak from my experience because it's such a varied and personal journey for people to connect with, you know, whatever their heritage is, whatever their religious background or practice might be. But you know, I think a lot of people, as they enter adulthood and they think about maybe starting a family or something, they're wondering, like, am I going to reconnect with something that was a part of my life because it was given to me by my parents or something like that? So it felt like something that would be worthwhile to explore that other people might identify with. And it was really important to me that her journey to reconnecting with this part of her identity was not like in service of Ethan and his relationship with his face, that it was like purely independent. And so yeah, I think there's some nice parallels in like the work that I did to write the book and the work that she's doing in the narrative.
Okay, great. So just one quick thing before I ask a few more questions. So to the audience, if you have any questions, use the ask a question button to submit that, and in a little bit we will answer some of your questions. So a question for both of you, and I wore my favorite new t-shirt that I got from Linda recently. It says unlikable heroine. So I would say that both of you have written characters that some would deem unlikable. And I love an unlikable heroine. They're one of my favorite tropes. So I'm just wondering for both of you if you intend to write these or what that experience is like, or just all of it. I'd love to talk about unlikable. Oh, Maisie says the League of Unlikables. Yes, I love that. So I want to talk about the unlikable heroines.
Yeah. I like writing unlikable heroines. I think they're really fun and interesting to write about.
I will say that for Naomi and You Deserve Each Other, it was hard to not read her and feel like I'm petty like that. I would like to do some of those things. I would like to say some of those things, So I really liked her unlikableness, but
I think that's one of my favorite things about Sarah's writing, actually, is like you have this like sharpness to your voice that comes across in your female characters because single POV. And it's so refreshing. Like, I don't think it's something that you see across the genre. Like, it's distinct and it makes me laugh, and I really just appreciate it. I think you do lean into like some of the thoughts that maybe other authors would censor off the page because they're worried about being polarizing or something. But yeah, I love that about Sarah. So I just want to say that. With Naomi, I guess she's like kind of prickly. She just like has walls up, and I think that a lot of like the consequences of that come across in a way that maybe make her seem unlikable. But I don't know. It's hard because I think like people are so hard on female characters in the romance genre. So while I'm very much like I love having, well-rounded characters and stuff, like if people are like, oh, I don't know if they're likable, it hurts me a little. But I know exactly what you mean. And yeah, I think we should absolutely keep doing that. Like I don't you know what? Honestly, I think probably more people thought Clara was unlikable than Naomi. And again, I think it sometimes is like we see things in characters that we're hard on ourselves about, like, oh, Claire's insecure. Or so I actually think Naomi was a little bit more bulletproof in that sense because she doesn't have as many things that maybe like that we beat ourselves up for. I don't know. That's just my guess.
yeah, Naomi is pretty secure with who she is. And I would think probably in that book, the thing that she was most insecure about was her faith, but that had like its own journey and resolution on it. I mean, I don't like it when people label heroines as unlikable because I think all heroines are likable. They should be, but I think it's a good term. It's kind of a catch-all term for some that, they're a little bit more. They're not like the I can't think the word right now. Words escape me, but they're not like the yes girls. They don't go with everything. They have, they want to challenge some things within other people and with themselves. And Meryl says that Naomi Grant is a goddamn queen, and that is the truth. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I'd
but
like to add something about her, if I can. Something that I really loved when I was reading it was how she would just acknowledge how hot she was, like it was a fact, because like you don't beat around the bush at all. Naomi's just like, I'm hot. I just love that. I want to throw that out there.
yeah, I mean,
I love her confidence.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. She's just like, this is who I am. I'm attractive. Men and women like to look at me. I like to look at men and women. It's just who she is, and that was great. So, okay, a couple of non-book questions before we open it up. So, do either of you have any non-bookish hobbies?
Before the pandemic, I really enjoyed cooking. And during the pandemic, I have not enjoyed cooking because it became something that I really had to do. So the pandemic, like, I was not one of those people that like leaned in and got a bunch of hobbies. I like lost hobbies. So I'm at sort of like at the neutral zero, I think. Again, I'll have to try like crochet or something now that we're hopefully getting vaccinated and coming out of it. But yeah, I don't know about you, Sarah. I don't have a lot to add to that one.
Yeah, my hobbies are watching other people bake food on TV. And then wishing that I had that food, but not wanting to bake it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a really good hobby, Sarah. I also binged whatever the most recent season of Great British Bake Off. I love that show. Everybody's just so nice. And then I watched a couple of episodes of Nadia's, I can never remember the name. She has like a new show. And again, I loved watching it, but I was like super obsessed with one of the pans that she had. I'm like looking up, where can I get this pan? It became strong. It's like a $400 pan, of course it is. So I'll have to put it on my list. So tell us about some books either that you've recently read and really enjoyed, or books coming out that you're excited to read.
I can start. I have one that's coming out next week. My very dear friend, I should disclaimer there, but Hot Copy by Ruby Barrett is coming out on the 13th. It's a debut. It's a workplace romance. And what I really love about it, like very coming back to our conversation, is that it has a heroine that I think kind of gets to fulfill a role that a lot of male characters have gotten to fulfill in contemporary romance historically. She's the boss. The hero is her intern. He is incredibly sweet and soft, and I think a lot of people will fall for him, but I also really fell for Corinne. I think it's an incredibly realistic portrayal of the challenges of being a woman in the workplace and also trying to fall in love, and sometimes against your better judgment. It is very sexy and just has this, again, like this tenderness meets steaminess that is like catnip to me. So that is one to look out for next week.
I've read that book. It is fantastic. I forgot how hot Karina allows their books to be. I will say there's face sitting in it. I know how to sell books. And for any readers, also, I would just caution you to check the author's website for some of the content warnings. Just so you know, yes, Maisie, face setting. Yes. I know the important things to tell people, but it's so full of heart, and just the relationship of it is fantastic. So that's a great debut as well. So, all right, Sarah, I saw you picking some books out, so I'm ready to hear. We're ready to hear.
All right. I got a long to be read because I forgot I did have a hobby, and it was buying books and not reading them. So I got this one. I have not read yet, but I've heard like amazing things about it. And she killed me with love lettering. So, and Lisa, Maisie got me into these books, but I haven't been able to read this one yet. I read, what was the name of the series that I read, Maisie? She will say. This one came out today, I believe, and I can't wait. I got a couple other ones that came out today and this one recent came out not that long ago. I love Danny Brown, so I can't wait to see this one. And I think this one's about like a B&B too. Like they fix up And to Love and to Loathe, I love this one. It's so funny, and it came out today. And everyone needs to read it.
We love
Buy
Martha.
this book. You want it.
And I'll also shout, today was a really good day for releases, so I'll also shout out Abby's book is out today. Abby is just so seamless at blending like highly emotional stories, but always making you feel really safe, and her humor is so just delightful. So yes, I had my like stack of books that came out today along with Twice Shy. So I'll just hold all these close to my chest.
Okay, awesome. So lots of great books. Allie says she's going to finish reading To Love and to Loathe. And I think Maisie said that it was the Hathaways for the Lisa Kleypas the series that you read.
Yeah.
Okay.
I read the Hathaways. I'm just reading whatever she tells me to read. She gives me a list and I go down it.
That's great. That's the best way to do it sometimes, because trying to choose a book can sometimes be very overwhelming because there's a lot of books. So I can feel like, where does one even start? I would say start with both of your books, and then I've read a few other than Hot Copy. I've read a few I think that you mentioned, so that's great. Maisie says Silver Fox Daddy Ross Cannon. Is that somebody in Lisa Kleypas's books? Oh, the Lisa Kleypas fan club. Okay, so we have some questions here. So, okay, so Sarah asked, in You Deserve Each Other's acknowledgement, Sarah mentioned that it wasn't the first novel she wrote, just the first she published. How many novel-length projects did each of you complete before your debut? And then do you have any desire to revisit any of those projects at any point?
I had The Roommate is the first book I ever completed.
Whoa.
I don't have any. I wish I had secret manuscripts ready to like edit and polish and give to people like every time I'm like from scratch. So yeah, unfortunately I don't have that.
Congratulations, that's amazing. Like I wrote, oh God, I don't want to give my number. It's a lot. I wrote a bunch of young adult years ago, and then I kind of phased out of that. And then I got into romance, so I started writing a lot of romance, but I didn't really know what I was doing yet. So it took a lot of finessing because I do everything the hard way. It takes me forever to learn what I'm doing. But yeah, it's like over 15 that I had written before You Deserve Each Other. Yeah, like I didn't think that I was going to get published. At this point, I was just writing because I liked it, you know? And then I would go send it out to agents after I finished a book. And I'd be like, well, it's time to start the next one. And then will I get all these rejections? I'll have something else to work on. And then, so yeah, it was a lot of books and a lot of rejections. And You Deserve Each Other, I sent it out like a couple days after I finished it. And I had an agent within 2 weeks, and we had a publishing deal within like a couple of months. And it was completely unreal to me. And it still doesn't feel real.
Well, it's definitely real, but I can understand how it might not. So do you think that you'll ever revisit some of those manuscripts that you have?
No, but I have mined them for stuff. Like my favorite lines, they've made appearances in my other 2 books. But like going back through, I can see where I've grown since then, so I wouldn't do that, but I might take more concepts. I like stealing from those books. It's nice. Like, I don't want to write a kissing scene today. I'll just copy and paste.
Yeah, see, that's what I wish that sounds like a very useful tool.
So Miranda asks, who are some of your all-time favorite ships?
I have like problematic faves for sure. When I was growing up, I was really into like the bad boy redemption arc. So I was really into like Spike and Buffy. Definitely has its problems. I've admitted this in public before, so I guess it's okay to say now. It's like a Draco Malfoy Hermione Granger. Terrible. I know. I know. But I'm over that now because obviously I write soft boys and not bad boys. So, but the roots are there. The roots are twined around my heart for just like leather pants and brooding and all that stuff.
What
I
about
can't
you,
think of
Sarah?
any. I'm trying to think, like, who are my OTPs? And all I can think of is Feyre and Rysand from Sarah
Oh,
J.
yeah.
Maas's books. Like, that's all I can think of. I can't even think of, like, the TV and movie ones. It will come to me as soon as we're done with this, though.
That's how it always is. All right, let's.
That's a powerful one, though, like that Sarah J. Maas shit.
Elena and Damon from the Vampire Diaries.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So Christina's asking, what are you going to do to celebrate your releases during these crazy times?
I did something kind of bananas that I'm really excited about, and I am hoping to share photos of it. I bought a painting, and I know Maisie will appreciate this. Like, it's actually so in the 1980s into like I think the early aughts, maybe all the historicals were like hand painted, the covers. And there were some incredibly beautiful ones. If you are on Instagram, you've seen like people sharing their step back photos and stuff. And Max Ginsberg is one of the illustrators, and he did stuff for Lisa Kleypas. He did stuff for Julia Quinn. And I decided to celebrate by getting a print. I could not afford the actual paintings themselves, but Max Ginsberg's studio did a print for me, and I got it custom framed. And it's like my prized possession now. It's like my only piece of grown-up art, but it's this incredibly beautiful painting from a Lisa Kleypas cover that, I'm hoping to share on Instagram this week because I am obsessed with it. I'm gonna like stage a photo shoot of like me and the photo in a field. But that's how I'm celebrating, which is weird, but I'm very excited because it's kind of like both a moment of achievement in what I've accomplished thus far in writing, but also like a reminder of like what I would love to accomplish, like to be among the echelon of Lisa Kleypas, who is just a queen among mortals. So that's how I'm celebrating.
What about you, Sarah?
I get the vaccine tomorrow.
Yay! That is a celebration.
I want to go to Barnes & Noble and see my book on a shelf. That's been my goal. I haven't ever seen my book on a shelf before. The last time I've been into a bookstore was February before it all happened.
Okay.
So maybe soon.
Soon. So I think this is a great question that Christina asked. Which authors do you believe need more of a shout out these days? Like some under I don't know how to describe it again because words are hard for me right now, but that just aren't getting enough love that perhaps they could or should.
For me, what I'm always shouting about is Jody Slaughter. I don't know how everyone is not constantly talking about Jody Slaughter, but White Whiskey Bargain was the first one I read by her. It is so sexy and smart, and I honestly just think Jody's writing is like magical, and she just signed a big deal, so I think she's going to be blowing up with Wednesday Books. But she's got some self-published stuff that she's added to her canon, so please check out Jody Slaughter. She is phenomenal.
And I'll add White Whiskey Bargain, also fantastic. If anybody who's watching this hasn't read it, there, again, because I know how to sell you guys the books, there is an oral sex scene where she's on a truck, it's raining, it's very hot, she does not reciprocate towards him, and it's like no big deal. And I'm like, this is what I'm here for. Also, Jody just did, if you follow her on Instagram, she just did like some boudoir photos that are like amazing. I'm like, Jody, this is she's so beautiful. But what about you, Sarah?
Okay. Well, I haven't been reading as much as I should, but like it feels like all the ones that I read are really well loved. But I would say maybe Chloe Leese. I've read the first of her Bergman Brothers novels, and it was really good, and I can't wait to read the other two. I ordered them, and then she has another one coming out later this year that I'm really excited about. And it has only 1/10 And it seems like autumny fall vibes. I'm really excited for that. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been reading arcs mainly.
Have you read any really great arcs that you are?
Yes.
Okay.
The Shoddy Scam by Lily Vale is really good. It's a second chance romance with Rita and Milan, and they are really cute together. And also Maisie's book, A Brush with Love. It's about dentists, and they are like, he is such a cinnamon roll, and they're so soft, and they're so cute. Like, they're immediately just so cute together. You just want to hit her because it's so good.
And so,
and Very Sincerely Yours. I had to get that in.
Very Sincerely Yours.
Very Sincerely Yours by Carrie Winfrey.
Right. Okay.
Also, it's like a warm hug. Sorry.
Maisie's book is out next spring.
I think that's right. 2022.
Okay. 2022. Yeah. And then what was the first one you said? The Shoddy.
The Shoddy. Oh, I always keep calling it the Shoddy Scam because that was its first name. It's the Shoddy Setup.
Okay.
The Shoddy Setup.
Shoddy Setup. Okay. So we'll put those. We'll put it on our radars. So, all right, let's see. I think we had a few more questions here.
While you look, can I shout out one more arc that I've read?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm just getting started into it. So, but the premise like stole my heart. So, Jean Meltzer is a debut from Mira, and it is basically like a nice Jewish girl that loves Christmas, and she works for I think like a Hallmark Channel kind of place, and she just like leans into her love of Christmas, and then basically has to reconnect with her she's very Jewish, but she has to like bring that to life more in her work, and so she goes to something called the matzah ball and her like summer camp rival is there, and she has to get close to him, and it's just like catnip, and also something just I had not heard about something like that being told before recently, so really into that. Check that out from Mira.
Okay, great. I will look for that. Okay, so Maisie has a great question here. What would your characters make for their showstopper on the Great British Bake Off?
Sarah, I feel like you're.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
I was reading.
Maisie asked, what would your characters make for their showstopper on the Great British Bake Off?
It would have to be donuts. Like,
it's already perfect, yeah.
Donuts. A fountain of donuts. And it like chocolate goes up the middle and it comes out. A fountain chocolate of donuts. I want that.
Naomi would not participate. She does not cook. That is like a core part of her personality. But I would like to think that Ethan would like try to make his mom's apple cake or something. Like he would do his best. And definitely cares about food traditions like that. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
Awesome. Okay, Rosie, who was the author of the book Jean Meltzer?
Yep.
Okay, and it's being published by Mira.
Yes, and it's called The Matzo Ball.
The Matzo Ball. Okay, got it. All right, so then let's see here. What occupation would you have if you weren't an author?
I have a day job still, which is in marketing, which isn't super exciting. But if I could have a different one, I always thought that like maybe HR would be nice. Like I'm always interested in like team building dynamics and like how to set up people to succeed based on like their individual needs. Like I think they call it human systems of design. I always thought if I went back to school, I would study that.
Okay. What about you, Sarah? What about you, Sarah?
Does this work? I might have pressed something. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Like, I've only ever wanted to be an author and like a mom from the time that I was 5. That's pretty much all I wanted. But there was a short space of time in high school when I wanted to be a dolphin trainer at SeaWorld. So let's go with that. But SeaWorld's bad, isn't it? So maybe I would just, go out into the wild and try to train dolphins.
Yeah. All right, so what are the chances we could get a Naomi-centered erotic short story collection? For reasons, Jessica is asking.
You never say never. Like, that is a new idea to me, I will definitely say. But I don't know. I think that sounds fun and interesting. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
All right, so Syl asked that she had a question. She says, Rosie's books are set in the city while Sarah's books are sort of set in the country/woods. Would you choose to live there like your characters, or do you prefer the other way? Like city, country?
I want to live in my settings. I live in like a really small town. It's technically a village in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, but I could live in, the woods.
I live mostly in cities during my life, so that's sort of what I know. And I really like the romantic idea. Like, I love reading about Sarah's settings, but my boyfriend likes to tell me that I would not enjoy it if I was actually there. So I guess I better stick with cities.
Okay, all right. And then, okay, so let's see here. So Christina wants to know, what are you looking forward to this year? I'm not sure if she didn't really specify if it's like books or just in general. Do you have anything like really exciting that you're looking forward to other than you, Sarah, getting vaccinated to go to the bookstore?
I would like to go
I live in London. Oh, go ahead, Sarah.
No, you go. It was half baked. It's fine. I'm cooking it.
I was just gonna say I moved to London like about a year before the pandemic, so I haven't gotten to experience it as much as I would have liked to. So I'm hoping that as people continue to get vaccinated and things can open up safely a bit more, to just get to spend more time around the UK. And yeah, a little traveling if it's safe would be awesome.
Yeah, I would like to go to a beach. I want to go to a beach somewhere. It's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to write a beachy setting. So, I need that research. I have to go.
Right. Yes, absolutely. All right. So before we wrap up, Miranda asked, what are you working on next?
I just finished writing a book, and I'm going to be sending it to my agent here in a few days. So I don't know if it'll get published. I hope it does. It's a little weird. I can't say how without spoiling it. But yeah, cross your fingers for me.
I am working on a book that I would also describe as a little bit weird. It's I like refer to it as like my 90K epilogue to the song Goodbye Earl. It's about two women who may or may not have committed a crime, who actually have a B&B, which is funny, continuing the B&B trend. And a private investigator checks into the B&B, and they're trying to make sure he doesn't know about something that may or may not be buried in the backyard.
That sounds amazing, and I can't wait for that. So I loved that song. I'm a big fan of the Chicks, so that song is one of my favorites. And also, have you seen that show on HBO with Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini? I cannot remember what it's called.
Is it called like Dead Like Me or something?
Something like that, yeah.
I haven't.
Okay.
But Meryl keeps telling me to watch it. So
You should. I really liked season 1, season 2, Dead to Me. Nicole reminds us, yes. So, but that was nice also because they're both over 40, which we don't see a lot of, like two women over 40 with friendship and shenanigans around a man who may or may not be dead. Yes, Meryl says it's true. She does, or they do always remind you to watch it.
Always, yes.
Always.
I will, Meryl. Don't worry.
Yes. All right. Awesome. So, any other last questions before we close it up? And I do want to remind everybody to, if you use the link that Barbara's provided, you get 10% off if you use the code event for both books. But any other questions or anything else that you guys wanted to mention about your books or each other's books? Why people should read them?
I will just say, like, again, I think Sarah has one of those voices that I would like read her grocery list. Like, I don't think there's anyone else quite like her on the market. And I love Twice Shy just as much as You Deserve Each Other. I'm sure everyone watching this has already like bought it or knows how great it is, but tell your friends so that they also know.
That's
yeah,
right.
and you should definitely read The Intimacy Experiment, because if you're a writer, it'll make you want to throw your laptop and be like, why am I writing anything? Yeah. Don't shake your head. You know it's true.
Oh. I'm not a writer, but I loved both books. They're both fantastic. They just have different pieces about them that I think readers will really enjoy, especially if they enjoyed your first books. I believe that they will enjoy these as well. And Jessica says, "You're both so talented. Happy birthday." So
Thank you.
yeah.
And thank you so much for such thoughtful questions, Kenny.
Oh, sure. Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thanks for letting me join in. All right, so thank you so much. And again, thank you to the team at Barbara's. Make sure to follow them on social. And thanks for both of you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.